Phoenix is up with about 8 minutes to go. We are midway through round 2. We have had trades. Another draft day trade by Washington. The streak is intact each year in the 80s. They've worked a deal on this day. We'll be back.
We gave this man a standard carbide blade, and it cut for 20 hours straight before it lost its bite. Then we changed to the new Dionite blade from Vermont American, and it cut and cut.
Earl Johnston, fullback from Syracuse, just selected by the Dallas Cowboys in the second round. But we're still buzzing about the trade that Atlanta made with the Washington Redskins. Essentially, Gerald Riggs going to the Redskins for the number 2 pick right here, which Atlanta cashed in on Ralph Norwood. Washington's number 1 pick next year, which is bound to be a very low pick, as we expect the Skins to be back in the playoffs, which would mean a low number 1. And Atlanta surrendered number 5. Of course, Atlanta did have John Settle, Pro Bowl player last year, the free agent who rumbled for a 1,000-yard season. I don't know that he's a Gerald Riggs, but he did perform very well for him. Joining us now, Paul Zimmerman is back in. And, Paul, I'm just wondering, your thoughts on the Riggs trade. Originally, Atlanta and the three-way deal with San Diego and the Washington Redskins, it looked to me that Atlanta was going to get more if that deal had gone off than this one. Yet they continue to persist to trade Riggs. I'm not implying that he's not physically fit or maybe that he's not got a good attitude or anything, but why? Why keep pushing to try and trade a back of that stature?
Well, they have a one-back offense.
Right.
Settle looked indestructible last year. Now's the time to make a play while Riggs still has value. If they wait too long, he doesn't have that much value. As far as Washington's concerned, instead of giving up a quarterback, they gave up their future, which is their style. I mean, they always dip into the future. So I think both teams did fine.
You think Riggs fits the Skins' needs? I mean, it looks like it.
And you almost spell it like Riggins.
Yes.
He runs a lot like him, too, really. I mean, don't you think that is the one key element that they needed, Doc?
2 things. I think they needed that to control the ball, and I think their defense really needs help.
What else has happened here in the second round? We've seen 2 number 1 picks for the next year go. Cleveland making that move for Lawyer Tillman. Trading away number 1 pick of a year down the line for a player right now. What do you think? That's kind of a gamble, but...
Well, I think Bud Carson feels that he can take care of a defense. And he has been proven. I mean, he was the architect of those great Steeler defenses. Linebackers like Andy Russell said they'd never played for a coach like him. He's a wonderful defensive coach. The Jets loved him. I mean, he did miraculous things with defenses. And I think Bud feels that he can handle the defense. Let's get some offensive impact. And I think their draft has been terrific so far. They got 2 big game guys.
So Cleveland has shipped the number 1 for next year, and the Redskins have shipped the number 1 for next year. We will be coming back to the draft as we are midway through the second round. But you want to talk about some heavy reading. Here's Robert Massey with Mel Kiper's bestseller, The Draft Report. We'll be back.
Like that spelling?
I like that.
Very empty.
It was the concert that changed music history. Some call it...
It's not an exact science, and everybody's got mistakes on their board because there are certain things we just can't evaluate that precisely.
A good player is not just a good player in a vacuum. It has to be that player that exists.
He's from New Jersey. Why are you a Denver fan?
Well, when I was traveling cross-country with my family when I was 4 years old, our car broke down outside of Mile High Stadium during a preseason game. And I was a bit overwhelmed at the age of 4 by seeing all that orange. And I've been a Bronco fan for now 12 years.
How about your neighbors? Are they Jets or Giants or just crazy?
Both, mostly Jet fans, but I don't go for the Jets, especially the way they've been drafting now.
Yeah, you should be up here. The Jet fans are in an uproar. It's kind of like the Christians and the Lions and down. I mean, the fans are upset with the second pick. How do you feel about Denver's pick?
All right, well, first of all, Steve Atwater, I think, he's a big safety from Arkansas, 6'3", 210, and he's got good range. He should help them out. I guess that also would kind of make Dennis Smith trade bait. And the guy Wydell from Boston College, I don't know, he's a little small, and I was still looking for them to take a defensive lineman because they're a little, weak on the defensive line. I was looking for maybe Andrew Stewart from Cincinnati, but I don't know, we'll see how this guy Wydell does.
You're 15 years old?
Yeah.
You normally, you don't go to a co-ed school, so you study all the draft rosters?
No, I do both.
I do both? Okay, well, that's good. Thank you very much, and may Denver someday make it back to the Super Bowl and not lose by 60 points. Now back to Bob Lee.
TJ's going to get you, Bino. That's a promise. Okay. Well, yeah, you know, it's a little dangerous for Bino up there right now in the gallery because of what the Jets did in the second round. There's a broiling sentiment of unrest, kind of like the Bastille on July 13th before it all percolated. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go back to Denver's selection of Doug Wydell, guard out of Boston College. Young man, 6'4", with fairly good speed. Needs a little bit of work on his pass protection.
It's a real good pick for Denver. They need offensive line help. Wydell should have been an early second. He went right where he should have, and he'll fill in position of need for the Broncos, and he'll be able to move in right away as a starter because he's an experience in that throw-style attack, a team that throws the ball and runs the ball. So he has that pass blocking and run blocking experience that you need to contribute early in your pro career.
Then came the Jets, who, with their selection of Jeff Lageman in the first round, that was in the 14th hole in round one. This room exploded here in New York, as you might expect. We called it a reach. What did I say? Kind of like Muggsy Bogues trying to block Manute Fall. They come out with Dennis Byrd, defensive end, Tulsa. So if the first reach was a capital R, this is a capital R underscored on a reach because you said he's a fifth rounder.
Fourth, fifth rounder, Bob. And when you look at a guy like this, you're looking at a guy who, plays all out. He's a hustler, but he doesn't compare physically and athletically to a guy like Rondi Weston from Florida. You can take a guy even like Rocker. He was productive at Auburn, but he had the knee problem. I would have taken Matt Brock from Oregon with this pick. He had a couple good all-star games, a very underrated player in the Pac-10 conference at Oregon.
When's the last time, was it the Bears, the last time a team has had, well, we call it a reach, and that's a subjective term. The last time a team has really had unusually off-the-board picks like this, rounds 1 and 2.
Last time was the Chicago Bears. They took William Perry in the first round and then Reggie Phillips in the second round. One of the few years that the Chicago Bears did not do a good job in the early rounds. And, of course, the Jets have had a history of some questionable selections, going back to the Ron Farreau choice when they traded up for Lamb Jones. And if you look at these two selections, they make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Obviously, right now, if you're going to analyze all 28 teams, the Jets are on the top of your worst draft list right now.
Okay, not much doubt about it in your mind, in the minds of a lot of the people who are here at the Marriott Marquis. Doug Wydell, taken by Denver, highly rated, certainly as a lineman, but nobody on the draft board had higher grades and had more scouts drooling more than Tony Mandarich, who probably is looking at an excess of $10 million for a contract, who has given a new meaning to big man on campus. His goal is simple. Tony Mandarich wants to be the largest and the fastest NFL offensive lineman. He's well on his way. Superhuman strength, single-minded attitude, 315 pounds, and 4.6 speed over 40 yards. That simply should not happen on a football field.
Some people, say that I'm too big and that I want to be too big. Well, just because the trend has been 270, 280-pound offensive tackles, I'm breaking that trend. I want to be 300, 310, maybe 315, and I still can be an athlete.
The famous frame carries little excess, from 8 to 15% body fat, a diet high calorie and high protein, and he sits down to eat 7 times each day. Meet Rory Liedelmeyer, a former Mr. America who used to train the LA Rams and now trains Mandarich. A customized regimen to bring Tony to his goals.
His personal goals now become my goals, and that's to become a mature 345-pound offensive lineman for the NFL.
That's 30 pounds more than he weighs now. Tony's dedication, some would say obsession, with size and strength, would have passed for laudable dedication in years past, but now, strength sports, especially football, live in the new age of steroid awareness. The drugs aren't new, but rules and damning medical evidence are. Can a player like Tony Mandarich be so strong, so large, without steroids? He's heard the charges.
Those people that say that have never put the balls to the wall, and they don't know what it takes. Those people are the people that sit at home, the armchair quarterbacks, point the finger. They've never had a lot of pressure on them. They don't know how to perform under pressure. They go to their 9-to-5 job, they come home and they eat and they go to bed. They have nothing, they don't have to perform in front of 80,000 people.
It's pressure Mandarich knows well, with a body he's proud of. So much so, he may pursue professional bodybuilding around his football career.
something that I love to do, and I love to lift. If bodybuilding paid more than pro football did, I'd bodybuild.